When Jack opened his front door that stormy night, the last thing he expected was to meet someone who would change everything he thought he knew about life, love, and fate. The rain poured down in angry sheets, soaking through his work jacket as he spotted a young woman standing under a flickering streetlight. No umbrella, no phone, just fear in her eyes. She looked out of place, like a lost piece from a world far removed from his. Jack didn't know her story, and she didn't offer one. But something in her trembling hands and quiet defiance made him stop. He'd been a single father long enough to know when someone was holding back tears. "You shouldn't be out here," he said softly, but with the firm tone of a man who'd seen danger before. She flinched, unsure whether to trust him, but the storm didn't give her much choice. That night, he offered nothing more than warmth and a couch. What he didn't realize was that his small act of kindness would open the door to a truth greater than any secret, a stranger's pain hiding beneath the kind of beauty only money could afford.
The city slept, but Jack's instincts didn't. The rain was relentless, washing the streets clean of noise, except for the sound of her quiet sobs. She said her name was Emma, though her voice wavered like she wasn't sure she should. Her clothes were soaked, her bag gone, and the look in her eyes wasn't just fear. It was shame. Jack recognized it. He'd worn that same look once, years ago, when he'd lost everything but the will to keep going. He led her inside, his home modest but warm. A couch, a blanket, and the faint scent of coffee filled the air. She hesitated at the threshold, clearly unaccustomed to such simplicity. "Why are you helping me?" she asked. Jack paused, then said quietly, "Because someone once helped me." He didn't ask questions. She didn't give answers. Yet, in that silence, something fragile began to grow. A connection not built on status, but survival. Neither of them knew that behind her soaked hair and trembling hands lay a truth she was desperate to keep hidden. That she wasn't just lost. She was running from a life most people would kill to have.
Morning light broke through the blinds, soft and golden, revealing a small home full of gentle clutter, children's drawings, mismatched furniture, and a pink backpack by the door. For Emma, it was a world so far removed from her own that it almost felt unreal. The sound of a child's laughter filled the air, pure and light, like a melody she hadn't heard in years. That was Lily, Jack's 6-year-old daughter, bright-eyed and unguarded. "You're the princess that slept on our couch," she said, her innocence melting the tension left from the night before. Emma smiled for the first time in days. In the kitchen, Jack moved around quietly, making breakfast that smelled more like comfort than food. Burnt toast, uneven eggs, and laughter filled the air. It wasn't perfect, and that was exactly why it mattered. For a moment, Emma forgot who she was supposed to be and simply felt human. Jack didn't treat her like a guest or a burden. He treated her like someone who belonged. That morning, between Lily's giggles and Jack's quiet humor, Emma felt something she hadn't felt in years. Safe.
Days turned into weeks, and what started as one night stretched into something unspoken. Emma found herself waking early, helping around the house, folding laundry, and learning to live without the safety net of privilege. Jack had helped her find a small job at the laundromat nearby. Humble, honest, and exhausting. Her hands, once manicured and untouched, were now red and sore from work. But strangely, it felt good, real. Jack would leave small gestures for her. New shoes by the door, an extra sandwich in her lunch bag, quiet encouragement that said more than words ever could. He never pried, never asked who she was before. But every night as she watched him tuck Lily into bed and fall asleep in the worn-out armchair afterward, Emma felt a warmth that her old life never gave her. Still, guilt lingered in the back of her mind. She had lied, not in words, but in silence. She wasn't the girl she pretended to be, and sooner or later, the truth would surface. Because secrets, no matter how carefully buried, always have a way of finding the light.
It happened on an ordinary afternoon, a flash of gold against the white linen. Jack noticed it first, a sapphire pendant, delicate and unmistakably expensive, glinting under the fluorescent light of the laundromat. Emma froze. It was hers, the one thing she hadn't been able to let go of from her old life. Jack looked at her, confusion turning to disbelief. "That's not something a broke student carries around," he said quietly. The air thickened. Emma's heart raced as she tried to explain, but her silence spoke louder. "Who are you really?" he asked. The words hit harder than anger. They were disappointment. Before she could answer, the door swung open. A man with a camera stepped inside, eyes sharp. "There she is," he muttered. "Your father's been looking for you." The world Emma had run from crashed back in an instant. Jack didn't understand everything, but he understood enough that she was in danger and that she'd lied. Trust shattered in a heartbeat, replaced by confusion, fear, and something neither of them wanted to name: heartbreak. The man outside shouted her name again, and instinct took over. Jack grabbed Emma's hand and ran, not away from her lie, but away from the threat that followed it. The rain was back, pounding against the pavement as they sprinted through the alley. Jack didn't ask questions. He just kept her close, his grip firm but protective. Behind them, voices echoed and tires screeched. He didn't stop until they reached his truck. For a moment, Emma saw something in him that she hadn't seen in anyone from her world. Courage without condition. When she panicked about Lily, Jack didn't hesitate. Within the hour, he had his daughter safe at a neighbor's house. His every move was careful, deliberate. He was risking everything for someone who had lied to him, and yet he didn't care. "You didn't have to do this," Emma said breathlessly. "Yes, I did," he replied. In that moment, she realized that kindness wasn't weakness. It was strength in its purest form. And Jack, the man she'd once thought of as ordinary, was the bravest person she'd ever met.
When the black car pulled up to Jack's house, the world seemed to stop. Out stepped Winston Harrington, tall, polished, and furious. The air between father and daughter was ice cold, heavy with everything unspoken. Jack stood firm, shielding Emma without thinking. "You can't keep her here," Winston said sharply. "She made her choice," Jack replied. But Emma's hands were shaking. She looked from one man to the other, the father who'd given her everything but love, and the man who had nothing yet gave her peace. Her voice broke as she said, I think I have to go." Jack didn't argue. He just nodded, pain hidden behind quiet eyes. As she stepped into the car, she whispered, "I'm sorry." He didn't answer. The sound of the door closing was louder than thunder. That night, Jack turned off the porch light and sat in silence. His home felt empty again, not because she was gone, but because she had taken something with her that he couldn't name. Sometimes, love doesn't end with anger. It ends with silence.
Days passed like blurred photographs. Jack went to work, cared for Lily, and tried to move on, but the house felt colder. Then one night, Lily's fever spiked. Panic replaced exhaustion. Jack rushed her to the hospital, desperate, only to be told the words every poor man dreads: "We need a deposit." He had nothing left to give. His voice cracked as he pleaded, "Please, she's 6. And then, out of nowhere, a calm voice said, "I've got it." Jack turned, and there she was, Emma. She handed the nurse her card without hesitation, her face pale but steady. "Put everything under my name," she said. No explanation, no blame, just quiet action. Hours later, as Lily slept safely beside them, Jack whispered, "You didn't have to come back." Emma smiled faintly. "I wanted to." In that sterile, white room, surrounded by the hum of machines, forgiveness didn't need to be spoken. It was felt in the stillness, in the gratitude, in the simple fact that she came back when it mattered most.
When Emma stood before her father again, she wasn't the same girl who had run away. She was steadier now, braver. The penthouse around her gleamed like a museum, expensive, silent, and empty. Winston didn't look up at first. "You're throwing your life away," he said coldly. "No," she replied. "I'm finally living it." Their voices clashed like two worlds colliding, his built on control, hers on freedom. She spoke of Jack, of his kindness, his honesty, the way he faced every day without complaint. "He has nothing," Winston scoffed. "No," she said quietly, "he has everything that matters." For the first time, her father faltered. The anger in his face softened into something like regret. "You love him?" he asked. "I do," she answered. Silence hung in the air before he turned away, defeated by truth. She walked to the door, pausing only once. "You taught me the value of wealth," she said softly. "He taught me the worth of love." And with that, she left, not running this time, but walking toward her real life. The next morning, Jack was making pancakes shaped like dinosaurs, the kind Lily loved most, when a knock came at the door. He opened it, expecting the mailman, and froze. Emma stood there, rain in her hair, holding a paper bag. "For Lily," she said. "Blueberry muffins, the real kind." Her voice trembled, but her eyes didn't. "I'm not here to stay the night," she added softly. "I'm here to stay, if you'll have me." Jack stared at her, speechless. She stepped closer. "I had everything," she said quietly. "Money, luxury, security, but I never had a home that felt like it loved me back." His eyes softened, and before he could answer, Lily ran into Emma's arms. "Are you staying forever?" the little girl asked. Emma smiled through tears. "Yeah, kiddo. Forever sounds good." Months later, they were together at the park, running a small food stand that bore Jack's name. It wasn't wealth, but it was happiness, and that was enough. In the end, Emma didn't just find love. She found home, built not with money, but with kindness, second chances, and the courage to start again